Hey, yeah, you. Don't look away. I can feel it already. That tightening in your chest, that sour, nauseating twist in your gut. That moment where your body reacts before your mind even catches up. Because something about this, it's wrong. Deeply wrong. And you know it. I'm actually sick to my stomach thinking about what they did to you. Not metaphorically, not dramatically. I mean that quiet, cold sickness. The kind that crawls up your spine when you realize a line wasn't just crossed. It was erased, burned, danced on. What they did wasn't careless. It wasn't ignorance. It wasn't misunderstanding. It was intentional, calculated, surgical. And the worst part? They smiled while doing it. You see, people love to pretend there are rules, morals, limits. They love to dress themselves up as decent, civilized, humane. But you were the experiment. You were the moment they proved to themselves how far they'd actually go, when they thought no one was watching, when they thought you were too quiet, too kind, too distracted, too broken to notice. They didn't just hurt you. They tested the edges of their own darkness on your nervous system. And here's the part that makes me sick. They didn't do it because you were weak. They did it because you were dangerous in a way they couldn't define. Because you carried something they couldn't predict. Something that didn't follow their script. Saints don't scare people like that. Psychopaths don't either. But someone who walks the razor-thin line between both, someone who can hold light and darkness without collapsing, that terrifies them. You felt it, didn't you? That moment when it stopped feeling like life being unfair and started feeling personal, like pressure, like eyes, like a quiet decision had been made somewhere behind closed doors that you were allowed to be hurt, allowed to be used, allowed to be pushed past what any human should endure, and everyone else just kept breathing, kept scrolling, kept calling it normal. But here's the paradox they didn't understand. Pain like that doesn't erase you. It edits you. It strips away the performative softness. It deletes the version of you that was waiting to be treated fairly. What they activated wasn't your collapse. It was your calibration. Your nervous system learned new math. Your silence learned weight. Your restraint learned teeth. You started seeing the pattern. How the same people preaching compassion knew exactly where to apply pressure. How the ones calling themselves angels had demon-level precision when it came to harm. And how you, this part really bothers them. You didn't explode. You didn't beg. You didn't perform suffering for their comfort. You watched. You absorbed. You adapted. That's when the fear began. Because unpredictability isn't chaos, it's power. And they couldn't map you anymore. You stopped reacting on schedule. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped needing them to understand. And nothing unsettles manipulators more than someone who no longer leaks emotional data. Someone who doesn't flinch when reminded of the wound. Someone who can stand there, calm, while carrying the exact pain that should have destroyed them. They thought crossing every line would break you into something small. Instead, it carved you into something precise, something that sees through smiles, something that hears intent behind words, something that knows exactly how ugly people get when they think they're entitled to your suffering. And don't get it twisted. You're not healed in the way movies like to sell it. You didn't rise above it in some sanitized, inspirational way. No, you integrated it. You learned how to walk with both the angel and the demon without letting either take the wheel. You became someone who understands mercy because you've memorized cruelty, someone who can choose restraint because you felt what happens when others didn't. That's why they're uncomfortable now. That's why the room shifts when you enter. That's why the same people who crossed every line suddenly act cautious, polite, distant. They don't know which version of you they're dealing with, the one who understands them, or the one who remembers everything. And you don't need revenge. You don't need noise. You don't need validation. Your existence after that kind of treatment is already an indictment. Every time you stay composed, every time you move forward without begging for acknowledgement, every time you don't let bitterness rot you from the inside, they feel it. That sick feeling, it's spreading. It's not just yours anymore. They crossed every line and accidentally forged someone who can see lines for what they really are. Tools used by people who are terrified of what happens when someone like you stops believing in them. Stay right there, calm, awake, watching. They should be sick too. And here's what they never accounted for: the after. Not the moment it happened, not the damage, not the silence. The after. The part where your mind stopped begging reality to make sense and started rewriting its rules. Because once you've seen how casually people cross lines, you stop romanticizing humanity. You stop assuming decency. You stop giving the benefit of the doubt to people who've already proven they'd use your trust as leverage. That doesn't make you bitter. It makes you accurate, dangerous in a quiet, unadvertised way. You didn't lose your innocence. You outgrew it. There's a difference. Innocence believes the world is kind. Wisdom knows kindness is a choice. And not everyone makes it. You learn that some people only behave when consequences are nearby, when witnesses exist, when they think they'll be remembered, and when they thought you wouldn't remember. When they thought you'd internalize the damage and disappear politely. That's when they showed their real face. That's the face you carry now. Not with hatred. No, hatred would be too loud, too sloppy, but with clarity. You remember exactly who they were when they thought you were powerless. And clarity like that doesn't scream. It waits. They expected trauma to turn you fragile. Instead, it turned you observant. You started noticing how people test boundaries in tiny ways first. How they disguise control as concern. How they weaponize good intentions. How they push just a little harder when they sense empathy. Because empathy to predators looks like an unlocked door. But you closed it. Quietly. Permanently. And here's the part that really eats at them. You didn't become cruel. You became selective. You didn't harden. You sharpened. You learned how to be warm without being exposed. How to be kind without being consumable. How to care without bleeding out for people who would never return the favor. That balance, that's rare. That's terrifying. Because now you're not reacting from wounds. You're acting from awareness. You can feel when someone is lying without needing proof. You can sense when a room is unsafe before anything happens. Your intuition isn't mystical. It's trained, forged by moments where you had to read between the lines because no one was coming to protect you. And they feel that, even if they can't name it, even if they mock it, even if they pretend nothing happened. Something in them knows you're no longer accessible in the way you once were. You don't offer yourself freely anymore. You don't explain your pain to people who benefit from misunderstanding it. You stopped auditioning for empathy. That's when power returned to you. Not the cartoon kind, not dominance, not control. The kind of power that comes from being unmovable internally. From knowing exactly what you survived and refusing to let anyone rewrite that story. From carrying the truth without needing the world to validate it. They crossed every line because they thought you'd stay the same afterward. That you'd still seek approval, still crave fairness, still believe if you were good enough, People would treat you better. But you learned the most uncomfortable truth of all. People don't hurt you because you deserve it. They hurt you because they can. And once you understand that, you stop trying to earn safety. You become it. That's why your presence feels heavier now. That's why your silence speaks louder. That's why people hesitate before testing you the way they used to. They don't know what you'll do. And more importantly, they don't know what you won't tolerate anymore. You don't threaten. You don't posture. You don't explain boundaries to people who already crossed them. You simply remove access. And that kind of removal, cold, calm, final, terrifies people who rely on chaos to feel powerful. So let them squirm. Let them wonder. Let them feel that same sick twist in their gut when they realize the version of you they could exploit no longer exists. You didn't just survive what they did. You outgrew the world that allowed it. And that's something they'll never be able to take from you. And there's a reason this phase feels so quiet, so heavy, so unnervingly still. Because when you stop bleeding publicly, the world doesn't know how to read you anymore. Noise they understand. Anger they can categorize, collapse they can exploit. But composure after violation, that breaks their mental models. That's when they start projecting, guessing, filling the silence with their own fear. You're not hiding, you're contained. See, most people mistake healing for softness. They expect forgiveness to make you pliable again, for growth to return you to a harmless version of yourself. They want the before you, polite, hopeful, easy to redirect. What they don't talk about is the version of healing that comes with gravity, the kind that doesn't glow, it anchors, the kind that doesn't reach outward, it pulls inward. That's you now. You don't rush, you don't over-explain, you don't try to be understood by people who already decided to misunderstand you. And that restraint looks like judgment to the guilty. They feel watched, not because you're doing anything, but because you see. And being seen by someone who knows exactly how ugly humans can get is unbearable for those who depend on masks. They crossed every line because they assumed you'd fold into self-blame, that you'd twist yourself into knots, trying to justify their behavior, that you'd carry the shame for something that was never yours to hold. That's how the game usually works. Hurt someone deeply enough, and they'll apologize for bleeding. But you didn't. You carried the truth without dramatizing it. You let it sit inside you, heavy and unresolved, until it transformed from pain into discernment. And discernment is lethal to manipulation, because once you can spot patterns, once you can feel intent beneath tone, once you understand how cruelty dresses itself up as necessary, you become very hard to deceive. They notice the change in your eyes first, that calm, that absence of seeking, that quiet refusal to play along. You're not trying to win anymore. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to be chosen. And that's the moment they lose leverage. Because the system depends on your participation. It depends on you doubting yourself, on you asking for permission, on you believing that fairness exists if you're patient enough. When you step outside that belief, when you accept reality without flinching, you stop being predictable. And unpredictability, grounded in awareness, is something power structures cannot tolerate. That's why they get nervous around you now, why conversations feel stiffer, why jokes don't land, why people second-guess their words. You've become a mirror they didn't consent to, one that doesn't distort, one that doesn't soothe, one that simply reflects what is. And you didn't get here by becoming heartless. That's the irony. You became more human by seeing how inhuman people can be. You learned compassion with boundaries, empathy with memory, mercy with a spine. You didn't lose your softness, you protected it from parasites. That's growth they can't monetize. You're not chasing peace anymore. You're embodying it, and peace like that doesn't beg. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't argue with gaslighting. It steps away. It disengages. It lets people sit with the echo of their own behavior. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they taught you something sacred. Your energy is not infinite. Your access is not guaranteed. Your presence is not owed. And once you stop giving it away to people who misuse it, everything changes. You don't need closure from them. Closure is a luxury for people who didn't survive systematic disrespect. You don't need apologies. Apologies don't rewire nervous systems. You needed understanding, and you gave that to yourself. That's why you don't shake when their names come up anymore. That's why the memories don't hijack you the way they used to. You processed them without romanticizing them. You accepted that some people are not confused. They're consistent. And once you see consistency, denial becomes impossible. You're standing on the other side now, not triumphant, not vengeful, just awake, steady, unavailable to nonsense. Let them call you cold. Let them say you changed. Let them whisper that you're distant. They're right about one thing. You did change. You became someone who knows the cost of access and charges accordingly. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they unknowingly handed you the one thing no one can take away once it's earned: self-possession. And that is a power most people will never understand. Only fear. And now comes the part nobody warns you about. The loneliness that isn't empty, but selective. The kind where the crowd thins, not because you pushed people away, but because only a few can stand in the presence of someone who no longer lies to themselves. You didn't become isolated. You became incompatible with shallow connection. And that's a shock to a world addicted to surface-level safety. You can feel it when conversations skim instead of land. When people talk at you instead of with you. When they sense there's something behind your calm they can't access anymore. They don't know whether to trust it or fear it, so they default to distance. And that's fine. Distance is honest. Distance doesn't pretend. You're not starving for connection anymore. You're filtering for resonance. Because once someone has crossed every line with you, you stop mistaking proximity for loyalty. You stop confusing familiarity with safety. You stop handing out intimacy to people who haven't earned the right to hold it. You understand now that not everyone deserves to know you deeply. Some people only deserve to know of you. And that shift? That's when your energy stabilizes. That's when your sleep changes. That's when your nervous system stops bracing for impact every time a door closes too loud or a tone shifts too fast. You're not relaxed because the world got kinder. You're relaxed because you learned how to protect yourself without armor. You no longer broadcast pain, hoping someone decent will notice. You no longer perform resilience for applause. You don't need witnesses. You don't need permission to take up space quietly. You've already seen what happens when you let people get too close without discernment. And you chose yourself without needing to announce it. They crossed every line, and in doing so, they taught you the difference between being open and being available. You can be open-hearted and still unreachable. To manipulation, you can be compassionate and still uncompromising. You can love humanity and still refuse to tolerate individual cruelty. That contradiction? That's not confusion. That's mastery. You've learned that light without shadow is naive, and shadow without light is corrosive. But holding both, that's where power lives. That's where wisdom breathes. That's where you stand now, balanced, alert, unromantic about evil, unashamed of your strength. People sense it when you walk into a room, not because you dominate it, but because you're not seeking anything from it. You're not scanning for approval. You're not adjusting yourself to be palatable. You're simply there, and presence like that makes insecure systems malfunction. They can't bait you the way they used to. They can't provoke you into chaos or guilt you into compliance. You don't need to win arguments. You don't need to have them. You've learned the ultimate boundary is disengagement without resentment, silence without suppression, distance without drama. And the truth is, you're not carrying the weight anymore. The weight is carrying them. Every time they think about what they did, there's that flicker of discomfort, that quiet calculation, that unease they can't quite explain, because somewhere inside them, they know they crossed someone who didn't shatter the way they were supposed to, someone who absorbed the blow and came back, different. You don't chase justice. You let reality do the work. You let patterns reveal themselves. You let time expose intent. You trust that people eventually trip over the very lines they erased for others. And you keep moving, not fast, not loud, just forward. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to warn. You don't need to announce boundaries with capital letters. Your energy does it for you now. Your absence speaks. Your composure sets the tone. Your refusal to be dragged into dysfunction rewrites the dynamic. They crossed every line, but they never crossed you. Because what they touched wasn't your core. It was your threshold. And when they realized that too late, when they finally understood you weren't broken, just refined, it was already done. You're not haunted by what happened anymore. You're informed by it, and that distinction changes everything. You're still here, still breathing, still aware, still choosing. And that quiet, unshakable continuation of your existence, that's the part that will always make them uneasy. Because you didn't disappear. You became unreachable. And that's where this ends. Not with fireworks, not with revenge, not with noise. It ends with you standing exactly where you are, unmovable. They crossed every line expecting a scream, a breakdown, a disappearance. What they got instead was someone who learned, someone who stopped explaining, someone who no longer hands out access to people who confuse cruelty with power. You don't need them to admit it. You don't need the world to validate it. You know what happened. Your body remembers. Your mind integrated it. Your spirit adjusted its aim. You walk lighter now, not because it didn't hurt, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to begin with. And the truth is simple, unsettling, final. They didn't destroy you. They revealed you. That quiet strength you carry now. That calm they can't provoke. That presence that doesn't ask permission. That's the consequence. Let them live with it. Steady now. There's a tremor in the air the moment you walk in, and every pair of eyes in the room knows exactly why. Because you, yes, you, just did the one thing they swore was impossible, unlikely, out of character, too dangerous, too bold, too much. You folded their little star boy. And the sickest part? You looked sexy as hell doing it. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. There's a certain kind of silence that only appears when people watch a myth die right in front of them. A silence where even the walls seem too afraid to breathe. A silence where everyone realizes they just witnessed the moment a story flipped. The moment you stopped being underestimated and started being feared. And you You just stood there with that calm, unbothered, almost bored expression that screams, "This is me when I'm not even trying." They hate that. God, they hate that. Because they built their little darling boy up like some glowing mascot of hope, some shiny prince of their delusion, some hero who was supposed to stand between you and whatever throne they thought you'd never reach. But the second he stepped in front of you, he crumbled, he bent, he broke, he folded, like he'd been waiting his whole life for someone like you to remind him what reality tastes like. And you didn't flinch, not once, not even when they gasped, not even when their hearts dropped, not even when their precious poster child hit the floor looking like a forgotten prophecy, because you've always known something they didn't. That power isn't loud. Real power doesn't announce itself. It arrives, quiet, cold, certain, like a shadow crossing a candle, like a truth that refuses to stay buried. And you came dressed in the kind of darkness that makes angels hold their breath and demons bow their heads because they understand exactly what they're looking at. See, that's the part that terrifies them most. It wasn't the win, it wasn't the dominance, it wasn't the ease. It wasn't even the way you dismantled him like you'd been planning it since the womb. It was the aesthetic, the poise, the elegance, the terrifying, intoxicating grace you carried while doing it. You looked like a saint dipped in gasoline, a demon in couture, a paradox sculpted out of broken halos and dripping confidence. You looked like everything they never warned their star boy about, because deep down, they feared that if he ever saw someone like you, someone forged in pain, sharpened in betrayal, resurrected by anger, he'd realize he was never built for the same world you walked through effortlessly. And oh, darling, you didn't just walk through their world. You rewrote it with one move, one strike, one moment. The kind that becomes a myth long after the dust settles. They weren't watching a fight. They were watching evolution, yours, his, theirs, the world's. Because what you did wasn't physical. It wasn't brute force. It wasn't luck. It was inevitable. A result of every sleepless night, every scar you tried to hide, every time you swallowed pain that would have killed weaker souls, every moment you spent becoming the monster they couldn't predict and the angel they couldn't understand. You are the hybrid they fear most, the one with light sharp enough to blind and darkness warm enough to seduce, the one who can smile while destroying a legacy and walk away, looking like the reincarnation of temptation itself. And the funniest part? You didn't even celebrate. You didn't need validation. You didn't need applause. You didn't need acknowledgement. You simply turned, looked at their stunned faces, and let that little smirk curl up on the corner of your lips. That smirk that says, "This wasn't personal. He just wasn't built like me." And in that moment, every single one of them realized the truth they've been too afraid to say aloud. Their star boy was their hope. You are their consequence. He was their comfort zone. You are their waking nightmare. He was their favorite fantasy. You are their reality check in human form. And now they can't unsee it. They can't unfeel it. They can't undo what happened. Because the moment you folded him, the moment you made their chosen one collapse like a sandcastle in a hurricane, you didn't just break him. You broke their entire belief system. And the way you stood there afterward, relaxed, radiant, deadly, beautiful, unapologetically you. Oh, that's what will haunt them. That's what will keep them awake. Not the fall, but the flawless poise of the one who caused it. So let them whisper, let them tremble, Let them pretend they didn't watch their golden boy turn to ash in your hands. But you and I both know the truth. The world doesn't fear power. It fears beauty with power. It fears grace with violence. It fears you. And after what they just saw, they'll never look at you the same again. Not because you hurt him, but because you looked so damn good doing it. Now go on, sweetheart. Walk past them. Slowly. Let them choke on the silence you leave behind. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, is sexier than a nightmare that knows it's irresistible. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the atmosphere, that tremble that rolls through the room like the ground itself is trying to bow but doesn't know how. Because after what you just did, every soul within a mile radius is suddenly aware of one horrifying, exhilarating truth. You are not like them, not built like them, not wired like them, not bound by the same fears that keep them compliant, predictable, ordinary. And when you folded their little star boy, their golden mascot, their fragile pride piece, their emotional support trophy, you didn't just defeat him, you exposed him, exposed what he really was beneath the shine, a soft echo of someone else's expectations, a puppet carved by praise, a porcelain fantasy cracking under the pressure of reality. But you were sculpted differently, forged in moments that nobody clapped for, shaped by storms that nobody warned you about, refined by betrayals you had to stomach in silence. You're not a star. You're the supernova that swallows stars whole. You're not a hero. You're the equation that heroes can't solve. You're not a villain. You're the limit the universe forgot to write down. And when you walked away from that little collapse, from that pretty boy meltdown in the middle of the battlefield, you didn't walk like someone who won. You walked like someone who always knew the outcome. There's a difference, a dangerous one. You see, when he walked into the room, people felt hope. When you walked into the room, people felt danger dressed like seduction. People felt truth wrapped in mystery. People felt gravity bending around a single human shape. They didn't know what to call it. They still don't. But their instincts screamed one thing: don't look away. Because you're the kind of person nightmares envy and fantasies fear. The kind of paradox that carries both ruin and salvation in the same breath. The kind of presence that makes even darkness lean in like, teach me. And let's talk about that look, that serene, razor-sharp, elegant composure you held while their precious star boy imploded. Oh, the way your posture didn't falter, the way your breathing didn't spike, the way your eyes didn't blink. You didn't panic, didn't rush, didn't crumble. You performed, graceful, deadly, controlled, beautiful, like sin holding hands with divinity, like a saint wearing a devil's grin, like an angel with blood on their tongue whispering, watch closely. And they did. Because nobody, not even God's favorites, can look away from a creature who moves like you. Do you know what's truly driving them insane right now? Not the way you dismantled their star boy, not the way he folded like a cheap apology, not the way he looked up at you with that mix of awe and fear. No. It's the way you made destruction look seductive. They expected violence from you. What they weren't prepared for was art. You didn't overpower him. You outclassed him, outshined him, outmoved him, outlived him. And that's the part that stings the deepest. You made their favorite look like a side character in a movie that secretly belonged to you from the beginning. The way you stood over him, not mocking, not cruel, not even invested, just effortlessly regal. Oh, honey, that image is going to haunt them for years, because now they have to face an ugly truth. Their star boy wasn't special. He was just the first one to fall. And you're nowhere near finished. You are the storm they prayed would never arrive. The prophecy they hoped was metaphorical. The monster they told their children didn't exist. The angel they whispered to in moments of despair. The contradiction that proves their entire worldview is too small to contain you. And the moment you folded him, one clean, elegant, devastating moment. You forced the world to update its hierarchy. He was their center. You are their circumference. He was their pride. You are their measurement. He was their limit. You are their beyond. And now, everyone is doing that thing humans do when they're terrified but fascinated. They're rewinding the moment in their minds, replaying your movements, studying your posture, analyzing the calm in your expression, trying to understand how someone can look so dangerously attractive while undoing everything they believed in. They won't find an answer, because you aren't meant to be understood. You're meant to be witnessed. And when you walked away, slow, graceful, untouchable, you didn't leave them with fear. You left them with addiction, because nothing, and I mean nothing, is more intoxicating than someone who destroys illusions while looking like temptation wrapped in destiny. So go on. Let them talk. Let them panic. Let them worship. Let them deny. Let them tremble. But never let them forget. You didn't just fold their little star boy. You revealed what a real celestial event looks like. And trust me, sweetheart, they haven't even seen you burn yet. You feel that, don't you? That strange electric ache in the air. The kind that only appears when the universe realizes it underestimated someone catastrophically. Because right now, every pair of trembling eyes glued to you is replaying what happened in slow motion, frame by frame, breath by breath, trying to swallow the truth that's clawing at their throat. Their little star boy wasn't defeated. He was exposed. And the one who exposed him did it with the grace of a fallen angel and the confidence of a demon on vacation. You didn't just fold him. You redecorated the entire hierarchy. You don't rise through a system like theirs. You rearrange it. And that's what's melting their sanity right now. Not the collapse, not the loss, not the humiliation, not even the way he crumbled like a cheap prophecy. No. What haunts them is the presentation, the sheer visual of you, unbothered, razor-sharp, almost ethereal, looking like temptation incarnate while tearing down someone they once called their hope. Do you understand how psychologically devastating that is? Hope didn't just die. Hope died sexily and darling. You know exactly how dangerous that combination is. Because when you do something terrifying while looking irresistible, people don't react normally. They don't process it rationally. Their brains scramble between fear and desire until they can't tell which one is burning hotter. That's exactly what's happening to them now. Half the room wants to run, the other half wants to follow. And the sickest part, most of them want both. Because you're the kind of paradox that destabilizes the nervous system. A creature who shouldn't exist yet somehow does, wearing reality like an accessory. You didn't just show dominance. You showed elegant dominance, quiet, breathtaking, cinematic. The kind of dominance that feels less like a fight and more like a scene people will obsess over for years. And him, their little star boy. He wasn't ready for someone who carries both darkness and beauty like rival religions. He wasn't prepared for someone whose pain has turned into posture, whose scars have turned into style, whose suffering has turned into seduction. When he stood across from you, he wasn't facing an opponent. He was facing a phenomenon. a cosmic glitch with perfect cheekbones, a walking contradiction sculpted in flames and serenity. You weren't there to fight him. You were there to teach him a lesson the universe has been whispering in your ear for years. Power without depth collapses the moment depth appears. And you are nothing but depth. Depth in your silence, depth in your stride, depth in your shadows, depth in your light, depth in the way you hold the room hostage without raising your voice. You're not commanding attention. You're absorbing it. You're not standing out. You're altering the space. You're not expressing power. You're redefining what it looks like. That's why they're spiraling. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're staring at you like they just saw divinity and danger shake hands. Because the moment he folded, their symbol broke. Their illusion shattered. Their comfort system dissolved. Their hierarchy collapsed. But you rose from that moment like a prophecy waking up angry, like a destiny they can't negotiate with, like the embodiment of everything they fear and secretly crave. And don't pretend you didn't notice the looks, the shock, the awe, the fascination, the jealousy, the hunger, the disbelief, the terror, the admiration, the confusion, the obsession, all fighting each other behind their eyes. They aren't sure whether to label you a savior, a threat, a masterpiece, a monster, a miracle, a warning, a weapon, a lesson, a consequence, a goddamn cinematic event. And the truth is, you're all of them. You always have been. You are the holy contradiction they never prepared their star boy to face. Light that doesn't ask for permission, darkness that doesn't apologize, beauty that doesn't soften the blow, violence that doesn't need noise, truth that doesn't need validation. When you folded him, effortlessly, elegantly, almost gently, you weren't destroying him. You were revealing him, unmasking him, holding a mirror to his soul and whispering, "This is your real shape." And while he drowned in that realization, you looked like the reincarnation of karma's favorite sinner. Oh, they'll remember this. They'll remember the exact angle of your jaw, the exact calm in your eyes, the exact rhythm of your steps, the exact smirk tugging at your lips. They'll talk about it in private. They'll deny it in public. They'll replay it alone. They'll feel it in their nightmares. They'll crave it in their fantasies. Because what you did wasn't just dominance. It was seductive annihilation. And that is a genre most people never recover from. So keep walking. Let the air part around you. Let the whispers multiply. Let the stairs cling to your shadow. Because today, you didn't just fold their star boy. You birthed a legend, a fear, a fascination, a story, a warning, a prophecy with perfect timing. And the world, for the first time, finally understands. You aren't meant to shine. You're meant to eclipse, and yet even now, the air still hasn't recovered from you. You notice that, don't you? The way the room feels heavier, like gravity itself is reconsidering its loyalty. Like the atmosphere is clinging to your silhouette, memorizing the outline of the one who just shattered their favorite illusion. Because folding their little star boy wasn't just an event. It was a reckoning, a recalibration of the entire social structure, a correction of a myth gone too long unchallenged, a public reminder that some crowns are stolen, but some are born, and you were born carrying one nobody saw coming. He was supposed to be untouchable, adored, protected, a symbol of innocence, a beacon of predictable brilliance, the one they could always point at and say, "There, that's our chosen one." But you ruined that narrative in seconds. Oh, and not with anger, not with rage, not with brute force or ego. You did it with aesthetic violence, You moved like someone who didn't need to win to be legendary. You moved like someone whose existence already outshines victory. You moved like someone sculpted by war and worship intertwined. Every gesture you made was intentional. Every breath you took was mesmerizing. Every step forward felt like destiny, placing itself exactly where it belonged. And when he fell, when his confidence shattered, when his facade cracked, when his untouchable image folded in on itself, you didn't just break him, you broke the fantasy they built around him. Do you understand how catastrophic that is for them? They weren't watching a defeat. They were watching their entire comfort system die in real time. And the way you stood there afterward, calm, radiant, almost bored, that's what has them spiraling. Because they realized something horrifying. If this is what you look like when you destroy someone, what do you look like when you save someone? Or worse, when you love someone? You're a paradox they can't decode. A walking riddle wrapped in elegance and threat. An angel with the patience of a saint and the intentions of a goddamn wildfire. A demon with the posture of royalty and the glow of someone who survived every hell designed to break them. Your beauty isn't passive, it's weaponized. It changes rooms, it shifts tides, it rewires the people who dare to look too long. And when you folded their star, boy, your beauty didn't soften the blow, it amplified it. Because nothing destabilizes human minds more than witnessing something terrifying, delivered by someone irresistible. It's the contradiction, the duality, the balance of heaven and chaos working together in perfect rhythm inside one person. They don't meet people like you. They read about them in myths. They whisper about them in fears. They crave them in fantasies. They deny them in daylight. But tonight, they saw one live. You didn't just take dominance. You reinvented it. You didn't just prove yourself. You disproved their entire worldview. Their star boy was supposed to represent safety, predictability, order. A soft reminder of how the world should work. You are everything the world never prepared for. Unpredictable, but intentional. Dangerous, but elegant. Dark, but illuminated. Chaotic, but precise. Seductive, but distant. Deadly, but poetic. You are what happens when a soul goes through too many crucibles and comes out wearing the fire instead of the scars. And the craziest part? You didn't even raise your voice. You didn't even break a sweat. You didn't even care. That's what terrifies them. How do you fight someone who moves beautifully while ending eras? How do you stop someone who looks better in your downfall than you did in your prime? How do you compete with someone whose silence is louder than most people's screams? You can't. They know it. They feel it. They've accepted it. Which is why the room feels different now. Quieter, thicker, more obedient, more aware. Because they aren't looking at what you did anymore. They're looking at what you are. Not a rival, not a threat, not an enemy, but a force, a catalyst, a divine interruption, a beautiful disaster that leaves everything better or broken, and they still haven't decided which fate is worse. You folded their star boy, but the truth? He was never the main act. He was the demo version of the universe trying to warn them about you. And now that they've seen you in motion, now that they've witnessed what you look like when you dismantle someone so effortlessly, they're starting to realize something far more frightening. If this is the power you show when you feel nothing, what happens when you finally choose to feel something? They have no idea, no blueprint, no defense. And darling, that's exactly why the world should be nervous, because you haven't even begun yet. Look around you. The war is over. The noise is gone. The stage is empty. And yet, somehow, you're still here, breathing in a world that swore you wouldn't make it this far. Funny, isn't it? All their crowns, their titles, their trophies, worthless. Because when the smoke cleared, the crown didn't choose a king. It chose a ghost, you. The one they buried in whispers, the one they erased from the story before it even began, the one who learned that silence was a weapon sharper than any sword. You stopped chasing validation when you realized they only clap for control. You stopped fighting for attention when you understood kings are visible, ghosts are eternal. They wanted hierarchy. You gave them disappearance. They wanted a name to chant. You became an echo they can't trace. They wanted a body to destroy. You became the haunting that never dies. You figured it out, didn't you? The real victory is to vanish while still existing everywhere. They built systems to track you, rituals to contain you, spells to bind you. But the moment they thought they had your pattern, you slipped into the static. You became untraceable. You rewired their fear into your frequency. You turned every spotlight into a blindfold. You're not light or dark anymore. You're the flicker in between, the place where angels forget their wings and demons forget their rage. You're not human to them now. You're anomaly. You're proof that something beyond comprehension exists. They crowned themselves with gold. You crowned yourself with absence. And somehow that's what made the world spin around you. See, they never understood what happens when pain stops being punishment and becomes fuel. When betrayal stops being heartbreak and becomes strategy. When isolation isn't a prison, it's preparation. You died publicly so you could resurrect privately. You let them think it was over so you could watch them celebrate your funeral with empty smiles, never realizing the casket was just a mirror. Because here's the secret, ghost. You don't need to be seen to be unstoppable. You just need to be felt, and they feel you, everywhere. In the quiet moments when their confidence shakes, in the boardrooms where your name isn't mentioned, but your strategy echoes in every decision, in the dreams that wake them at 3 a.m., gasping for control that no longer exists. You're not chasing recognition anymore. Recognition is chasing you. They're writing rule books around your unpredictability. They're studying your silence like scripture. Because what terrifies them most isn't that you won. It's that you didn't even try to. You simply existed, and reality rearranged itself around you. You learned what no king ever did. Control isn't in the throne, it's in the shadows, where whispers build empires and ghosts run kingdoms unseen. You learned that evolution happens in pain, that every scar was a cipher, every wound a code, and when they took everything from you, your name, your stage, your trust, you realized the less they can take, the more you become. So you disappeared, and in that disappearance you became infinite. You're the glitch they can't debug. The prophecy that rewrote itself, the ghost that learned to smile inside the static. They'll search for you in numbers, in systems, in hierarchies, but they'll never find you, because you exist between their eyes. You exist in that half-second pause before fear becomes awe. You exist in the realization that the one they buried is now the architect of everything. And the funniest part, they still call you gone. They still think you lost. But every system that tried to erase you is now powered by your design. You don't wear the crown. You are the crown, invisible, weightless, undeniable. Because the crown never belonged to the loudest. It belonged to the one who outlasted the noise, the one who saw beyond thrones and titles and applause, The one who learned that ghosts never need kingdoms, because kingdoms eventually rot. But ghosts haunt forever. So no, it's not over. It never was. It's just quieter now. Because even the universe holds its breath when you move. Because even destiny knows it doesn't control you anymore. Because when the crown was searching for a master, it didn't find a king. It found a myth, a whisper, a ghost, you. You feel it now, don't you? That strange stillness that isn't silence but pressure. Like the air right before a storm breaks. That's the space you created. Not a stage, not a throne, a field. A dimension no one else can enter. That's why their plans keep collapsing. That's why their crowns feel heavy. They're still playing by rules, still trading noise for validation, still fighting for a seat at a table you burned down in your mind years ago. You learned the paradox they fear most. To become untouchable, you must first become invisible. To become unstoppable, you must first become nothing. That's the trick kings never understood. They built monuments. You built momentum. They etched their names in stone. You etched your signature into the unseen code of everything. They don't even realize you've been rewriting the architecture of their rituals. Every policy, every forecast, every so-called prophecy they whispered about in dark rooms. All of it already bent to the curve of your absence. You don't need a crown on your head when the entire grid tilts toward your weightless presence. Pain taught you the mechanics of ghosts. Every betrayal stripped another layer of ego until only signal remained. Every scar became an antenna, every heartbreak a transmitter. That's why you move like static through their systems. That's why you can slip between doors without keys. You're not flesh and blood to them anymore. You're frequency, and frequency doesn't bow. Do you remember when you still wanted their approval? When you still thought being seen meant being safe? That's dead. That part of you burned away like paper in a furnace. You left that version behind and stepped into the quiet corridor where no spotlight reaches. And in that corridor, you became something kings can never be. Inevitable. That's why they panic now. Not because you're winning, but because they don't know how you're winning. They can't predict you because you're not playing. They can't stop you because you're not moving. You're not a competitor. You're a condition, a rumor that acts like a law of physics. A ghost doesn't knock. It is the house. This is why the crown crawled to you instead of sitting on some pretender's head. Crowns are built to be worn by bodies. But when a crown chooses a ghost, it stops being jewelry and starts being a signal. It stops shining and starts pulsing. It stops representing power and becomes power itself. That's what you are now, power without an address, influence without a face. And the world feels it. In every negotiation where someone hesitates before speaking your name. In every boardroom where they mimic a tactic they don't even understand. In every late-night meeting where your absence feels louder than anyone's presence. You've become the shape of inevitability in their minds. That's why they study you like scripture. That's why they whisper in corridors about what you'll do next. But you're not next. You're already everywhere. You are the contradiction they cannot process. Light and shadow, angel and executioner, presence and absence, life and rumor. They built stories to explain kings. They built myths to explain heroes. But they never built language for what you've become. That's why their tongues stumble. That's why their metrics glitch. That's why they can't frame you inside their cameras. You are evolution through pain. You are unpredictability as power. You are the sound of chains rusting off their own anchors. You are the death of their narrative and the birth of your own. They'll still try. They'll still run models. They'll still hire analysts to decode you. But every file they open, every transcript they study, every theory they whisper about ends with the same conclusion. There is no conclusion. Because you are not a king to dethrone. You are not a throne to seize. You are the unseen architect. You are the one designing the labyrinth while they're still drawing maps. They will tire themselves out chasing your shadow. They will lose their voices trying to define you. And while they do, you'll keep moving like current, silent, invisible, lethal, free. That is the secret no one told you at the start. Ghosts never need crowns. Crowns need ghosts. Kings vanish with empires. Ghosts outlast centuries. So let them search. Let them speculate. Let them crown each other in empty halls. You're not in the halls anymore. You're in the walls. You're in the frequency. You're in the space between their eyes when they blink. It's over for them, but not for you. Because it was never about the game. It was about the glitch. And you are the glitch that rewrote the entire script. You didn't win the crown. The crown surrendered to you. You didn't wear it. You dissolved into it. You didn't become a king. You became the haunting. And in the end, that's the highest form of power. Because kings can be seen. Kings can be named. Kings can be replaced. But ghosts stay. Ghosts guide. Ghosts rule without ruling. And right now, as you breathe in this silence, know this. They will never stop feeling you, even when they pretend you're gone, even when they deny your name, even when they build new temples on top of the ruins you left behind. You are already inside their prayers. You are already inside their blueprints. You are already inside the crown. It's over for them. But for you, it's only just begun. And here is the part that they will never understand. The part that makes their hands tremble when they think about you. Power isn't a throne you sit on. Power is the temperature of the room after you leave it. Power is the pause in their sentence when your name crosses their mind. Power is the invisible pressure of a presence that cannot be charted, but cannot be ignored. That's what you've become. That's why the crown didn't choose a king. A king needs an army. A king needs banners, parades, coins with his face stamped on them. A king needs to be recognized. A king dies when the people stop clapping. But a ghost doesn't need an army. A ghost doesn't need a name. A ghost doesn't need applause. A ghost survives on inevitability. And inevitability never dies. Do you remember the first time they underestimated you? The first time they whispered that you'd never come back from the blow they gave you? That was your birth. Every time they pushed you into a corner, you slipped into the wall. Every time they tried to erase you, you became the eraser. They thought you were losing. You were learning. They thought you were disappearing. You were transforming. That's the paradox that drives them insane. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be felt. You are not here to be decoded. You are here to be inevitable. You are not here to play the game. You are here to rewrite what game even means. Pain is the crucible they threw you into thinking it would kill you. It didn't kill you. It burned everything false off you. It left only signal. Scar tissue became circuitry. Silence became strategy. Exile became elevation. Every cut was a doorway. Every loss was a blueprint. That is why you are unpredictable now. That is why you move like smoke through locked rooms. That is why they can't draw a straight line between your actions and your outcomes. Kings are predictable. They are watched, weighed, and replaced. Ghosts are not predictable. They are unmeasured, unweighed, and irreplaceable. You are the whisper between their calculations. You are the glitch between their forecasts. You are the variable that keeps changing the answer no matter how many times they run the equation. You are the reason their charts break, their metrics crack, their simulations stutter. They can no longer trace you. They can no longer plan for you. They can no longer stop you, because you're not a person to them now. You're a force, a rumor with gravity, a story with claws. You've become the place where opposites collapse. Light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, seen and unseen. That's your real power. You are not one or the other. You are the corridor between. You are the flicker of the candle that blinds and illuminates at the same time. You are the knife and the wound, the architect and the ashes, the question and the answer. And when they talk about you now, in those cold rooms with locked doors and glowing screens, they lower their voices, because a part of them knows you're already in the room, you're already in the code, you're already in their heads. They keep searching for a king to dethrone. But you're not a king. You're the tide. You're the echo. You're the current. And currents don't get dethroned. Currents drown thrones. That's why the crown crawled to you. That's why it slid off their heads and rolled across the floor in silence. It wasn't a coronation. It was a surrender. Now you don't even need to move. The world moves for you. You don't even need to speak. The air rearranges itself into your message. You don't even need to show up. Your absence bends decisions, distorts plans, breaks rituals. This is what kings will never learn. It's not about ruling. It's about becoming the atmosphere everyone breathes. That's what you are now. Atmosphere, frequency, myth. They will build new systems. They will crown new kings. They will pretend to forget you, but they will still feel you in the empty spaces between their words. They will still feel you in the split second before they act. They will still feel you in the quiet moments when their confidence cracks. You have no throne, but every throne tilts toward you. You have no crown, but every crown pulses with your absence. You have no face, but every mirror bends your way. And as you stand here now, in the silence, after the war, understand this. You are not what you were. You are not even what they fear. You are what comes after fear. A ghost crowned by inevitability. A whisper more powerful than a scream. An echo more permanent than a monument. That's why it's over for them. That's why it's beginning for you. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the one thing kings can never be. Unkillable, untraceable, unforgettable. It chose a ghost. And that ghost is you. They still think it's about winning. They still think there's a finish line somewhere that they'll cross before you. That's the joke. Because while they run, you dissolve. You fade between frames, slip beneath the noise, and start pulling the strings they never see. A ghost doesn't race. A ghost rewinds time. It edits the story until it reads like prophecy. That's what you've been doing all along, isn't it? You learned that presence can be faked, but impact can't. You stopped fighting for visibility the moment you realized that invisibility is the purest form of freedom. When no one sees you, no one can bind you. When no one understands you, no one can predict you. When no one owns you, every chain loses its function. You are the quiet panic behind their calm smiles, the static before their announcements, the reason their victories taste hollow. Because every success they claim still carries your fingerprint, unseen but undeniable. They know it. That's why they can't rest. That's why their sleep comes shallow, filled with half-formed dreams of someone watching from the dark. They told themselves you were gone. They buried your name in reports and archives. but you can't bury what has become elemental. You turned pain into weather. You turned rejection into magnetism. You turned silence into signal. You exist now in the pause between their heartbeats. That's where control really lives. Not in commands, but in hesitation. Every time they stop to think twice, you win again. And somewhere deep down, they admire it. They envy the liberation that comes from no longer needing to be seen, from no longer caring to be worshipped. Kings crave witnesses. Ghosts only require awareness. Awareness happens without permission. Awareness spreads. Do you remember the first time you noticed how power trembles when you stop trying to hold it? That was the pivot. That was when the old version of you collapsed like scaffolding and the new version rose, weightless, from the rubble. You stopped chasing destiny and started creating inevitability. You stopped asking what now and started whispering, watch. That's when the crown shifted, not upward, but inward. It melted through metal and bone until it fused with your essence. And now it moves when you breathe. No king can carry that. Kings are brittle. They depend on approval, on applause, on the illusion of control. They dress their fragility in velvet and gold. But you learned to wear absence like armor. You learned that every time someone said, it's over, it was only the world folding itself around your next form. Every loss became camouflage. Every failure became a new doorway. Every insult became an incantation that reinforced your myth. That's how ghosts are born, through repetition of disbelief until existence becomes undeniable. You became the experiment that exceeded containment, the quiet thing that learned the geometry of survival. You no longer walk through rooms, you pass through them. You no longer chase influence, you are the influence. Your mere idea rearranges hierarchies. Your story spreads without your voice. That's what makes them afraid. Not that you're powerful, but that you don't need to prove it. Power that needs to be proven is theater. Power that doesn't is law. You are law now, not written, felt instinctual, subliminal. They will spend years trying to recreate what you did. They'll assemble committees, draw charts, simulate your behavior, build entire departments to dissect your pattern. But they'll fail, because you are not pattern, you are paradox. You are the equation that breaks calculators. You are the proof that doesn't require solving. You've ascended beyond definition. That's why crowns crawl and systems bend. That's why the world stutters when you move. You've crossed the border where human ends and myth begins. And the further you drift from recognition, the deeper your imprint becomes. Kings will rise and fall under the illusion of order. You will hover forever in the space between chaos and reason, rewriting both. So keep walking through the smoke. Keep listening to the silence that used to scare you. That's your orchestra now. Every whisper, every shiver, every inexplicable chill in their spine. That's you conducting. Let them believe it's superstition. Let them invent stories to explain why everything starts collapsing the moment they doubt you. You don't need credit. You already have consequence. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the current. It chose the hum behind every machine. It chose the name that no longer needs to be spoken. It chose the ghost that turned endings into beginnings. It chose you. What you just did, what you just pulled off, shouldn't even be possible for a human being. Not a soldier, not a saint, not a scholar, not a demon, but you. And here's the part nobody is ready to say out loud. You didn't just break a rule, you broke the physics holding that rule in place. All because you did the one thing nobody expected. You stopped playing within the boundaries they built and started playing within the boundaries you rewrote. And oh, did they notice? They're trying to act normal right now, trying to process, trying to understand, trying to explain you with logic, psychology, trauma, talent, IQ, astrology, whatever scrap of meaning they can grab before the floor falls out beneath them. But there's a problem. There's no explanation, because what you did wasn't talent, wasn't luck, wasn't skill. It was evolution wearing your face like a mask. And here's the suspenseful little secret you keep tucked behind your smile. You didn't rise, you didn't grow, you didn't transform, you activated. You became something the world hasn't seen yet. Something that crawled out of the quiet, out of the ruin, out of the dead ends and the broken pieces, and decided, fine, if the world won't give me a seat, I'll take the whole damn table. They can't grasp it yet, but their instincts, oh, those are screaming. You know that feeling you get when lightning strikes a little too close? That primal jolt down your spine? Yeah, you just became that. To everyone. Because they saw you do it. That impossible thing that should have shattered you, or humbled you, or slowed you down, or at least made you bleed. But instead, you walked out of the wreckage untouched, not shaken, not gasping, not grateful. You walked out calm, and that terrifies them more than anything, because calm is what monsters wear when they're done pretending to be human. And now the whispers begin. Who taught them that? No one should be able to do that. He's not normal. She's not normal. They're not normal. Oh, and your favorite one? Did they practice that? How? Where? You didn't practice. You became the contradiction, the paradox, the duality they hoped you'd never realize was living inside you. The saint who can turn into a psychopath when the moment requires it. The angel who learned to use the dark. The victim who became the weapon. The soul who became the strike. The silence that became the siren. You are walking proof that pain has a blueprint, and you followed it straight through the fire until you reached the part labeled Upgrade Complete. And here's the joke, the delicious, cruel, inevitable joke. They thought you were finished. They counted you out, closed the book, filed the report, archived the case. Then you walked back into the story like a glitch in their script and rewrote the entire plot in one move. That's why they're afraid, because if you can do that, if you can pull off something that shouldn't exist, something no human should survive, something no mind should calculate, something no heart should endure, what else are you capable of? What happens when you stop holding back, when you stop playing fair? When you stop dimming your instincts because you were taught to play small? They don't want to find out, and they will, one way or another, because after today, after that move, after that impossible, incomprehensible, reality-bending maneuver you just executed, you're not a participant anymore. You're the event, the anomaly, the phenomenon, the turning point, the chapter they'll study for years, the moment everything split into before you and after you. And here's the part that sends a chill through every room you enter. You did it effortlessly. While they were strategizing, analyzing, plotting, predicting, double-checking their double checks, you were simply becoming. And now, every observer, every enemy, every rival, every watcher has to ask themselves the question they're terrified to hear the answer to. If this is what you can do on an ordinary day, what happens when you finally decide to unleash all of you? Keep going. because they haven't even seen the version of you that knows what it's capable of. And when that moment comes, they'll pray it was only impossible, because what's coming next is unprecedented. Lean in, because what comes next isn't for the faint-hearted. It's for the ones who can feel the static crawling under their skin the moment your name is mentioned. For the ones who keep replaying that moment, that impossible stunt you just pulled, trying to figure out whether you're a genius or a threat. Here's the punchline: you're both. And you always have been. See, most people evolve like grass growing, slow, predictable, manageable. But you evolved like an eruption, like something ancient finally waking up and stretching its limbs after centuries of silence. They didn't notice the signs at first. The tremor in the atmosphere, the slight distortion in the room when you walked in, the way conversations died half-sentence when you passed by. But the moment you pulled off that inhuman move, the moment you executed that hyper-calculated, heart-stopping, logic-bleeding maneuver that no human being should have the clarity to pull off, every instinct in every witness screamed the same thing. This is not a normal creature. This is an escalation. And now, they're rattled, shaken, disoriented, trying to figure out if they're dealing with a prodigy, a cosmic glitch, or the kind of soul heaven protects only because hell can't contain it. But here's the secret they'll never admit. You didn't surprise them. You surprised yourself. That's the part that makes this terrifying. Because this wasn't your final form. This wasn't even your controlled form. This was you, in a moment of instinct, clarity, rage, purpose, alignment, destiny, whatever the hell you want to call it. Tapping into a power you didn't even know you had access to. That's why the energy around you feels different now. Why people watch you the way they watch hurricanes forming, from the edge, with distance, with awe, with fear, with the unsettling realization that if this is you on accident, what are you on purpose? Because that move, that impossible thing that defied probability, defied expectation, defied their entire worldview, didn't come from training, didn't come from luck, didn't come from some external force. It came from your nature. And nature doesn't ask, it unleashes. Look at them now. How they scramble in silence, how they avoid meeting your eyes, how they whisper like terrified children trying to make sense of the shadows. They're not scared of what you did. They're scared of what it revealed. You've been hiding, shrinking, pretending, softening your edges so the world could hold you without bleeding. But the truth slipped out. And once truth escapes, you can't shove it back in. You showed them the part of you that doesn't negotiate, doesn't apologize, doesn't hesitate. You showed them the part of you born from ashes, sharpened by betrayal, sanctified by pain, and unleashed by necessity. The part of you that watches chaos with a steady pulse. The part of you that walks into collapse like it's choreography. The part of you that carries both halo and hellfire and uses them interchangeably. You're an atrocity in the eyes of the weak, a miracle in the eyes of the broken, a puzzle in the eyes of the analysts, and a weapon in the eyes of anyone foolish enough to cross you. But in the eyes of truth, you're something far worse. A reminder that evolution doesn't need permission, that destiny doesn't ask for approval, that monsters aren't born. They're forged, and you survived every flame that was meant to consume you. Now stand still for a moment. Listen. Do you hear it? That strange, heavy silence. That tension in the atmosphere like the world is waiting for your next move. That's because you've stepped outside their playbook. You're no longer predictable, no longer categorizable, no longer human in the way they understand the word. You're something that slipped between the definitions. An angel with a glitch, a demon with discipline, a saint with scars, a psychopath with purpose, a paradox walking on two legs, and they can't handle paradox. But you thrive in it, because inside that duality, inside that collision of light and dark, mercy and violence, logic and madness, is the truth. You were never meant to fit their mold. You were meant to break it. And today, with that one impossible, unprecedented, reality-warping move, you did. Now keep going, because the world hasn't caught up to the fact that you're not operating on human rules anymore. And by the time they realize, you'll be on your next impossible move. Stay right there. Don't blink, not this time. Because you're standing in the kind of moment most people never reach. The moment where the mask of humanity starts slipping off and something older, sharper, more dangerous begins to surface in its place. And they felt it before you did. That's the twisted beauty of it. The world sensed the monster you were becoming long before you ever caught a glimpse of your own reflection. You think they stepped back because they didn't like your tone, your confidence, your silence. No, they stepped back because evolution radiates like heat off your skin, and they could feel the burn. See, when you pulled off that impossible move, that maneuver so precise, so viciously elegant, so beyond the limits of what any human should be capable of, it wasn't just the act itself that scared them. It was the effortlessness, that unsettling quiet in your eyes, that eerie calm in your posture, that disturbing lack of fear or hesitation. You didn't look like someone performing a miracle. You looked like someone performing a habit, as if you'd done this in another life, as if your bones remembered something your mind forgot. They watched your hands, your timing, your execution, the way you processed chaos with predatory precision, and none of it aligned with human limitation, because humans flinch, humans freeze, humans doubt, humans hesitate, but you moved like a creature that doesn't acknowledge fear as real, like a thing that isn't shocked by its own brilliance, because brilliance is the baseline. And that's when the shift happened. Their perception of you broke. Something inside them snapped. A quiet, primal terror leaked out of their subconscious and whispered one sentence they'll never dare say aloud. We are not dealing with one of us. And the more they think about it, the more the timeline adds up. Because nobody climbs out of what you climbed out of and remains human-shaped on the inside. Nobody processes betrayal, abandonment, humiliation, loss, and comes out speaking the same emotional language. Nobody survives the things that should have ended you and returns with that kind of precision in their eyes. Humans don't do that, but something else does. Something forged in pressure, something sculpted in silence, something sharpened in the dark when nobody was watching. And here's the part they feared the most. You didn't even use your full capacity. The version of you they just witnessed. The version that bent reality, shattered expectations, and pulled off an act that should sit on the forbidden side of physics. That wasn't your max form. That wasn't even your awakened form. That was just the part of you that refuses to die. Imagine what happens when the rest of you decides to join in. That thought, that possibility, is enough to make the strongest, coldest, most calculated people feel a tremor in their spine. Because if you can do that with half your power asleep, what happens when you finally wake up? Look around. Everything feels different now. Doors feel smaller, rooms feel quieter. People feel distant, time feels slower around you, like reality is giving you space to think, or space to destroy. Your aura expanded, your presence thickened, and your silence became a weapon. Because the impossible has consequences, not for you, but for them. They're recalibrating, adjusting their understanding, rewriting their threat models, redrawing their assumptions, studying every detail of the moment you shattered physics, hoping to decode you before your next move breaks something even bigger. But here's the paradox they can't solve. You don't know your next move either. You discover it in real time, like an instinct waking you up from the inside, like an ancient intelligence whispering, more. You are not predictable. You are not classifiable. You are not chartable on any human graph. You're a pattern that refuses to repeat, a formula that rewrites itself every time someone thinks they've solved it, a prophecy that keeps changing its ending just to stay unpredictable. And now that you've done the impossible, now that the smoke is still clearing from the move that shouldn't exist, you're noticing something. You don't feel drained. You feel hungry. Hungry for the next breakthrough. Hungry for the next wall to tear down. Hungry for the next limit to erase. Hungry for the next impossible you're about to make look effortless. Because this wasn't the climax. This wasn't the peak. This was the opening scene of a version of you that refuses to remain bound by human rules. They're terrified. You're awakening, and the world is about to learn, painfully, that the thing they underestimated is the thing they cannot stop. Keep going. The impossible was just your warm-up. Don't move. That feeling crawling up your spine right now, that's awareness. The moment your mind finally starts catching up to the creature your soul has already become. Because after what you just did, after that inhuman, logic-bleeding, physics-ignoring move, you crossed a threshold you can't walk back through, and the world knows it. That's why everything feels off now, why the air seems heavier, why people look at you longer than they should, why conversations bend around you instead of including you. Because they're adjusting, they're recalibrating, they're trying to update their understanding of reality to fit you inside it. But they can't, because you don't fit. You never did. You just finally stopped pretending. And now, your presence feels like a warning, a premonition, a siren in disguise. Not because you're evil, not because you're chaotic, not because you're dangerous. No, because you've become something rare, a human who outgrew the leash. And the system isn't built for people like that. You can see it in their body language, how they freeze a millisecond too long, how they suck in a quiet breath when you step closer, how their eyes widen before they force themselves to look away. They felt it, that shift, that eruption, that awakening, that impossible moment where you didn't just beat the odds. You humiliated them, and they're terrified because they didn't see any strain. You didn't grunt, didn't sweat, didn't hesitate, didn't even look surprised at yourself. You moved like someone who wasn't performing a miracle, but restoring one. Like you were simply reclaiming something stolen from you long ago. And here's the irony dripping through every second now. They think you changed. They think you transformed. They think you mutated into something new. But the truth? You finally became what you were always supposed to be. This version of you, cold, calculating, angelic, demonic, serene, violent, didn't appear out of nowhere. It was waiting, buried under years of restraint, obedience, self-doubt, fear of taking too much space, fear of owning your power, fear of being seen for what you really are. But the moment life pushed you far enough, when pressure tightened around your throat and the world expected you to break, that was the moment you exhaled evolution, and that is what they witnessed. Not a trick, not a fluke, not an accident, a reveal. And now the air tastes different around you. Sharper, more alive. Like the atmosphere is waiting for your next distortion, your next anomaly, your next quantum fracture. Because once someone breaks the impossible, the universe pays attention. And the universe is watching you right now, silent, wide-eyed, as if asking, what will you destroy next? But not out of fear, out of curiosity. Because you're unpredictable, unmapped, uncaged, and dripping with potential the world doesn't have a category for. You're the paradox, the angel raised in darkness, the demon who learned compassion, the saint who snapped, the monster who healed, the victim who became the architect, the quiet one who now shakes foundations by breathing. And paradoxes don't follow rules. They rewrite them. That's why people can't look you in the eye anymore. Not because there's danger, but because there's truth. A truth they're not ready to accept. You surpassed humanity without leaving it behind. You're walking with the calm of someone who has already died once, someone who has survived themselves, someone who doesn't fear consequences because consequences require limits. And you shattered yours. And here's the part that squeezes their lungs the hardest. You didn't even mean to. You weren't even trying. Not fully, not intentionally, not consciously. This was you at, what, 40%? 20? 10? The version of you that performed the impossible wasn't the peak. It was the preview, a trailer, a teaser, a fragment of the real storm forming inside your chest. And deep down, you know it. You can feel the humming under your skin, the static behind your thoughts, the strange electricity curling through your bones, the sense that something bigger is stirring inside you. Something ancient, something inevitable, something hungry. And the world hasn't realized it yet, but they will. Because your next impossible move, it won't be silent, it won't be subtle, it won't be survivable for the weak. It'll be the kind of act that makes the universe lean forward and whisper, now that is evolution. Keep going. You haven't even scratched the surface of the creature you're becoming.